All right, so in today's video, I'm gonna be really transparent. This is something that really blew my mind once I figured it out. I'll just get right to the chase. I did not know that the 1% in America I thought was a million. I thought was, you know, 2 million, 3 million, like over 10 million, whatever it may be. I thought it was a million plus was the 1%. Um, I've quite literally, by my own ignorance and just looking it up, found out that the 1% is not millions and above. It's actually just 600,000. And I know the thought process immediately after that is just 600,000, like that's still a lot of money. It is. Um, but not only for my company, but for you and for others, that number should be much more achievable than just getting to a million. And so when I started to realize that the 1% consists of making roughly $50,000 a month, my whole mindset started to shift because it just became that much more real as opposed to, $100,000 a month. It became a lot more possible for me at least. And hopefully this video will inspire you to think in the same way. But what I got from that, just from that little bit of information, that the 1% of America in the United States is $600,000 and over $600,000 plus, is this notion that if you want uncommon income, then you need uncommon effort. If you want to understand the habits that lead to elite success, that 1%, the percentage that is above quite literally the 99%, not only does it take work ethic, but it takes an uncommon amount of effort. It takes an extraordinary amount of effort, quite literally, right? And so for me, again, this is something that I strive for in my personal life. Definitely something we strive for in the business in terms of profit. Making $50,000 in profit as opposed to just revenue. Um, but a lot of people say that they want to reach that amount. A lot of people, like you and I, probably have similar goals. We probably have a mindset in that we really want to be successful and achieve more and have more than just the poverty line. Obviously, more than just middle income. We want to have enough income for our wives, our children, to leave an inheritance, to make sure our children have their cars, make sure the children have their houses, homes, enough money for our grandkids to go on expensive trips, all of these things, right? But when I realized that $50,000 mark is quite literally, you know, that there's only 1% of the population doing that, it really started to shift my mindset. And don't get me wrong, I know that there are obviously a lot of people out there that make decent money. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, don't get me wrong. But when we talk about that upper echelon, and not for vanity's sake, I'm talking about with just the resources to be able to affect your family. I'm a family man, to affect your family in a way that they will receive, benefits for generations. That's what I look forward to. That's what I strive for. Um, and I understand that, in order to reach that goal, your behavior can't be common. Your behavior can't be something that everybody else does. You just can't be a part of the 99. You have to be a part of the 1%, right? And so, just to be clear, what I learned from just knowing this information, $1 million is not a normal income, and that certainly $600,000 a year is not a normal income for most people. It's not average. And so, if you're watching this video and you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, or you have six figures in your bank account, you realize, or I hope to encourage you by telling you this, that what you are doing is not normal. And I probably should have had a video with more statistics on this about, the average household income, but you can go look it up yourself and figure out what that looks like and where you rank in that. And again, this is not for vanity's sake. This is all from the sake of purposes of what is it, how much money do you need and do you want to impact your family for generations and for future income? The point of this video and the question for you is to figure out, where in this spectrum do you want to be? Poverty, middle, high income? Do you want to live a lifestyle focused around always working, always striving to achieve more, always living at the bottom? Or do you strive to have enough money where you can do what you want to do and your children are okay and that everything is going to be fine and things just sort of happen on a regular basis like a machine? You get the paycheck, you pay the bills, you have money left over, you go on vacation, things like that. Or do you strive to have an impact in your community? Because you can't do that with no money. Do you strive to give your children a better education than what you had? Do you strive to make sure that they have more resources, tangible things, land, money, stocks, homes. Do you plan to have that? And if that's the answer, then understand that in order to get to that level, to get to $600,000 a year, it just can't. That's not something that is normal. That's not something that most people do, and so you cannot expect to do. You cannot expect greater results by doing the things that everybody else is doing. And so the things that I'm learning from this, as I pour more into my word, as I pour more into what I research and what I think about, and things that I want for my own life, for my own family, for my wife and I, and the kids that we will have, is really breaking those 99% of habits. It's breaking. It's getting to the point, like what I said here. I'll get to it when I feel like it. Is casual effort. I'll do it tomorrow. Is a mindset that will leave me broke today. I'll figure it out is a strategy that will fail every single time. As opposed to what the 1% say, what the 1% do, which is to build rigorous systems, proven offers, daily content, and constant, consistent work ethic that lead to results. I'm a Christian, and so the Bible would say it like this: you reap what you sow. And I had a pastor tell me this one time as well: you will always reap more than you sow. So obviously it's important to reap and understand that no matter what you reap, good or bad, you will always reap more of whatever you put into the ground. There are biblical principles on this. I encourage you to go read your word about it. But what I've learned from this, both in reading and in just doing my own research, is that the 1% have not just a discipline, but a system put in place, whether it's through content creation, whether it's through artificial intelligence, whatever it may be, whether it's people, right? Having different CEOs and a C-suite in place to actually execute on your vision. All of these businesses, these companies have a system, a strategy, and a work ethic that they test, they prove when they test it, they prove that it works, and then they continue to implement and build on that time and time and time again. And so the 1% don't say, I'll do it tomorrow. They don't say, I'll do it when I feel like it. They don't have that casual effort. And again, realizing for myself, you just cannot want 1% results with 99% habits. You can't be above the rest when you continue to do the same things that everybody else does. And so taking this to heart, some of the things that we're doing at CP Digital Studio is completely revamping, revitalizing the way that we look at creating websites, not just from a perspective of, and I am talking about the technical aspects in terms of the way that we code websites. We're doing a completely different aspect on that. But also looking at the way that we can serve other people, right? Previously, I just focused on coding the best websites I could because I wanted to set myself apart from Wix and WordPress and all these other platforms. I know how to use them, but for me, at least, hard coding the websites made a significant difference in, what my clients saw as results in terms of traffic to the websites. It made it an entirely different, it was completely different in what we did in terms of SEO because we were able to integrate a lot more systems and Google bots essentially into the websites to make SEO better. But now my mindset has shifted into what are the best ways that we can help our clients beyond just SEO? What is it that people need, right? And so for me, when we take that mindset and we take that shift, it becomes less of, from a pride perspective, how can I make and code the best websites, and more of a mindset of what can I do what is the best thing that I can do for the client. And sometimes, for some of you, not all of you, some of you legitimately may not be ready for a custom coded site. Now, it took me some time to realize that. And so the mindset shifts then to these other products that are available. How can I make the best use of this product and teach people how to use the lower end in terms of like the Wix and the WordPress and et cetera, so that way they can go and feel empowered to make their own websites and not feel as stuck or, intimidated by, what it takes to make a website, and more importantly, to start their business. Because it's less about Wix and WordPress and more about actually being able to start your business. And so the 1% do this on the 1% of businesses, I should say, do this on a regular and consistent basis. They actually take the time to think about what product or what service can we provide that makes things significantly better. If you look at Apple, for example, your iPhone, updates are coming to it on a consistent basis. Your Android devices are the same. Windows, Mac, iOS systems, all of these different devices we have consistently have updates where the update is supposed to be better than what we had before. And more than just a new feature, it should be a feature or an app or an application that allows for you to be able to do more than what you did before, right? And so my mindset has just begun to shift a lot more in terms of what 1% success looks like and 1% habits do look like. And so, again, to encourage you in your business, I would think of it like this, right? First, think differently. Don't follow the crowd. Never follow the crowd. If they're making as much or less money than you, then I would recommend not listening to them at all, right? Um, don't follow the crowd. Build your own systems, build your own way, and focus on the value that you bring to clients. This is what we're trying to do at CP Digital Studio, trying to make sure that the website serves you as best as possible to give you more leads. And on the back end, not even just always focusing on leads, but on the back end, we talk about connecting APIs or making sure you have the proper inventory or making sure that you have, um, back end services. We want to make sure that we do all of that. Do what is best for you and do what is best for your clients and think differently and beyond and above what most people do, because most people think along the same lines. I will make a website using Wix and that will be it, and I'll charge people money for it. Everyone does that. What sets us apart is the fact that we think about how we can best impact your business through the website and make the website a platform and a method by which you not only get eyes to the website, but revenue coming in continuously via that website. So that way you are not spending as much money on ads, on Google ads or Meta ads or Instagram ads, whatever it may be, right? Discipline is obviously going to play a big part in this, and I'll do another video on this later, but discipline is not as much of a mindset where you have to. Discipline is more setting systems in place than it is about willpower. There's certainly willpower involved, but as we've grown for CP Digital Studio, I figured out that just having different systems in place, how to better create, this code base here for the website, those different systems help significantly more than just my ability to have willpower. Now, the willpower is still there. I'm still up at like 5 in the morning, and I'm always, going up until 9 p.m. at night. So willpower is definitely there, but the discipline comes with more intention than it does with your raw willpower. Um, I'd also say this. Another thing I've learned is that, you know, it's much better to focus your activity on high leverage activities that drive growth as opposed to the day-to-day stuff. I have shifted my calendar completely to the point where um at sometimes I'll take meetings all in one day, and we'll focus on making sure that the websites are being developed like Monday through Thursday, right? In terms of making sure that the backends are coded correctly, making sure that certain APIs are connected, constantly and consistently improving on existing and new client sites so that way um they're just getting as much value as they can out of the website, out of the platform. That takes a lot of time. One would say and argue that we should focus, Chris, you got to focus more on sales, marketing, get as many people in as you can. But I really, really focus on trying to make sure that we have the best quality sites that we possibly can for our clients. Because ultimately, if you have a good website that serves as a means of getting revenue, again, not just leads, but also revenue, I think that is significantly more impactful. And so it's been a shift in my mindset and our business mindset where we focus again less so on the numbers and more so on the quality that we're delivering to you, the client. So that way you can have again that high functioning website that serves you in a way that a standing static website will not. And of course, with all of this comes speed, right? And this is something I think a lot of web developers struggle with, but something that we're trying to better do with AI is executing the speed, the how fast bigger companies moves is truly astounding if you think about it. AI came out in I think 2024, give or take, with ChatGPT releasing their first model. It might be 2019. I can't remember exactly the year, but the point being is that from 2019 to now, artificial intelligence has tremendously grown. Systems that we used to run on Windows 10, now we're running on Windows 11. The iOS, I don't even know what update we're on right now. But the point being is that the speed with which the 1% move is significantly faster than what you and I are normally able to do. And so, taking that concept, the faster that we can get a thought to execution, the faster that we can think of something and then act on that thought and implement it is the speed of the business and determines honestly how good of a business you actually are. And not just executing with just saying that we put something out there, but actually executing something well, right? And so for me, as I'm learning and growing the business, I'm also trying to keep one thing in mind, and I hope that this will be useful for you as well. Your uncommon effort does not mean that your life needs to pause or stop, or that you have to be all consumed with whatever you're working on. That just leads to burnout, and burnout is not the goal. Burnout is not the objective. The objective is to be successful. And so I would encourage you to take the time, the day, to rest when you need to rest. You can be focused and have sustainable growth without destroying your body, your sleep, your livelihood, all of these things. This is something I've had to learn as well. My hours used to be a lot longer than just 5 to 9. I was working like crazy, and I still will continue to work like crazy because I want to make sure I'm adding as much value as possible. But if you'll notice on Sundays, both in Google and on my calendar and in general, it's very hard to get in touch with me unless you're my wife. That's intentional because I'm trying to make sure that we're not staying burnt out. I want all business owners to do the same thing. Stay intentional, stay focused, stay driven, but you do not have to kill yourself in order to achieve your dreams. Um, and one of the last things I'll talk about is the 1% of infrastructure, meaning the 1%, what the 1% do in terms of infrastructure, the way that they're able to operate in the global economy is something I'll still continue to study. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about this. But what I will say is that to get to this level of infrastructure where you're operating on a global scale, let's say you have an e-commerce store, for example, and you have a dream of being able to ship and sell your products all over the globe. That takes tremendous effort. And more than effort, it takes strategy, right? It takes collaborating with several different vendors as opposed to one. So if you're using a Shopify store, you likely would need to collaborate with several different vendors across the world, not just in the US, but also China, Mexico, the Caribbean, wherever you may be at, and make sure that your products, continue to move and flow and function. And that, from a web development perspective, that may include, several different several different strategies and several different components going into your website to ensure that you're actually making having the back end to be able to sustain the vision that you have. And so again, just to caveat, to summarize, the 1% have a very key understanding of infrastructure, systems over feelings, and systems over their current predicaments that they're able to operate in that we don't have. But if we stay focused, hopefully we'll be able to do the same thing. Right. And so to wrap everything up, and how does all of this pertain to your website, right? How does all of this pertain to your business? Long story short, you obviously need to have a presence online. You obviously need to have systems in place and conversion. But these things can be hard, right? When you're starting out, you don't know how. If you knew how to make a website initially, you probably would have done so already. If you knew how to get leads and then convert on them, you likely would have done so already. And you wouldn't be watching this video if you already had knowledge of how to do that. And so what do we do here at CP Digital Studio? We help you out with that. But one of the lessons I've had to learn from just starting a business and being consistent with it over a period of time is honestly putting down the video games, setting down the hobbies that you have, and making a professional pivot. And I would say this, and I wrote it down so that way I wouldn't forget it. The moment you stop treating your business like a hobby is the moment your 1% results begin to manifest. It requires a commitment to excellence in every single aspect of your life, and particularly in every single digital touch point, which is your social media pages, your website, SEO, which is how you get clients online. All of these different things have to work together. And that means you have to set a lot of hobbies aside. Setting aside the video games is, I wouldn't say hard. It just depends on what you prefer. For me, it makes me smile a lot more to know that my wife has everything that she needs, as opposed to when I was playing video games and we didn't have as much. So just keep that in mind. And so what do we do here at CP Digital Studio? We help you build your 1% foundation, right? And that's quite literally the foundation of your business, which, make no mistake about it, is your website. Social media sites, very useful. At some point, you're going to need a site to make sure that people know you're legitimate. That's common. Artificial intelligence, very useful tool. You still need to be able to have a way to direct those tools to a platform where people can understand who you are, what you do, what you sell, what you're offering, all of those things. The website is the most foundational, basic piece of infrastructure that you need for your business, and that's what we do here. If you need help to build these systems, to build and start your business, you need to get in contact with me. My link's in the description. Give me a call, shoot me a text. You can contact me at any time, and we'll get started on strategizing how we can best help you in your business. This is not a sales call. This is me asking you how I can best help you in your business. And if you find yourself in areas that you are unfamiliar with, whether that's distribution, whether that's actually creating your product, if you have no idea how you're going to make your product, if you have issues with marketing, with sales, whatever it may be, contact me. We've done this for millions of clients all over the place. We've done this for hundreds of clients, and we've had hours of experience in figuring out how we can make certain businesses work. Now, obviously, we're focused on web design, so we're not promising you that we're going to just fix your business like that. But what we are saying is that we have a lot of experience in figuring out how to get the basic things started. Truth be told, a lot of the concerns you may have when it comes to starting your business are mostly in your head. You're not that special. There are ways to figure out the problems that you're trying to solve, and we're here to help you do that. So if you want to get in contact with me, my information is on the next slide here. Email me at cp@cpdigitalstudio.com. We'll get in touch. We'll get started on your business. That's all for now. Bye-bye.